So I always get questions about what lenses I'm using. On the Fuji side, it is the 50 to 140. Remember, this is a crop body, so it's going to be magnified to be about the equivalent of what I'm using on the A7 III, which is the 70 to 200 G Master. Looks like there's a firmware update on this that has addressed the rack zoom issue. Even as late as the A7R III Epic Shootout, we were still seeing rack zoom problems. It appears that most of those issues have been addressed. So I'm looking forward to getting some good measurements to see the performance. So far, they both look really good. They both have almost edge-to-edge coverage in their viewfinder, something that's greatly improved over the XT2. But we'll just measure and report and see what we see.
Also important to note that because the Fuji is a crop sensor, its depth of field is going to be a little bit deeper and it could give it an unfair advantage. Therefore, I shot with the Sony at f4 and the Fuji at f2.8. For side-to-side motion of a moving subject, the XT3 scored a 99% and the A7 III scored a 100%. For a subject running towards the camera in good light, the XT3 scored a 96% and the A7 III again scored a 100%. For a subject moving away into heavy backlight, the XT3 scored an 84% and the A7 III scored a 68%. And I have a new test that I wanted to try out. Eye detection sports focusing, running towards the camera in heavy backlight. The Fuji X-T3 scored a 47%. And the A7 III scored an astonishing 92%.
So let's take a closer look at some of the data and the things that I learned from the results themselves, the actual pictures. I've never revealed something that I refer to as the elbow problem, but I'm going to describe it now for the benefit of the Sony engineers, as well as the Fuji. And when I say that, I have no affiliation with either of these, with no company. Fuji, Nikon, Canon, I don't communicate with them. I do not collaborate with them. I do not attend the press events. This is just coming from somebody who does a lot of these tests and some feedback. So the elbow problem is that when we have a runner moving away from the camera at certain angles, what will happen is when her right elbow comes back towards the frame, the camera locks onto the elbow and it gets focusing lock, and that counts. The problem is when the elbow comes forward. So she's moving away, elbow comes back, there's the lock. And when she moves that elbow forward the second time, it misses the focus. That's what's happening on the majority of the misses for the Sony, is the elbow problem is tricking the predictive focus for Sony. Now, the X-T3 also has the same problem, just not as much. And my suspicion is the quad processors that are sampling focusing 240 times in 1 second. So even shooting at 11 frames per second, it's still sampling, I'm gonna ballpark it, 20 something times. In between every frame, there's 20 focus samples. And therefore, when that elbow comes forward, Fuji's already calculated it out by the time the exposure happens. So that is a very specific and precise difference in the focusing systems for that particular kind of shot. Now, the eye detection test I've never done before, and I kind of like it because it shows when problems start happening, right? So the way this test works is I turn on eye detection for both cameras and I put the focusing square on the far left, on the background. I want the cameras to miss if they do not have eye detection. The reason I don't use a square or wide cluster in conjunction with this is because sometimes that would be what the camera would be defaulting to. So we wanted to make sure there were absolute misses. So what I learned was, I believe that both cameras, as part of the algorithm, as part of the software that makes eye detection possible, works, is it starts off with a face detection, right? Because an eye by itself isn't very specific, but 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth are. So it starts out with a face detection, and then it finds the eye and it locks it in. Nearly all of the misses on the X-T3 happened in the beginning part of the test, with only about 10% missing after the model was close enough. So what this tells me is that the algorithm that Fuji has is not as precise as Sony's. Okay, so Fuji engineers, if you're listening, the face detection algorithm, if you can make it more small, more precise, that'll pretty much correct the problem. I believe it's a complete software fix and something that's easy to do, and probably on both of them. but they've come a long way. So which camera would you prefer to shoot a sporting event with? Let me know in the comments below. I also have tutorials on YouTube for both cameras, and I'm giving one away. Check out that free contest. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.